Lothlorien is a mansion built about 100 years ago on Lake Mendota. In that time, it's had many uses and many different incarnations. Boarding houses, various fraternities, housing cooperative.
The building itself is almost like a riverbed that has been worn away by the years and years of lives that have been lived in this structure.
At the time we investigated this mansion, Lothlorien, it was abandoned because there had been a fire there.
The Lothlorien mansion caught fire on September 11th, 2013. The fire department's investigation division was unable to determine the origin of the fire that started at about 3 o'clock in the morning on the 4th floor. Miraculously, no one was injured in the fire, but the damage rendered Lothlorien abandoned ever since.
This co-op gave us permission to do an overnight investigation. Their maintenance guy let us in. He left, and we were able to investigate there overnight, undisturbed.
Let's not make another spirit.
Our guide Alex walked us around every level, and we checked every room to make sure that no one else was in the building and familiarize ourselves with the floor plan, which was like, a labyrinth.
It really was a weird rabbit warren of passages, and we were doing this walkthrough. I started getting so turned around.
He kind of took us through all these trails in the house and showed us every room all the way from the top down to the bottom in the basement of the place, where he said a friend of his actually felt the most uncomfortable.
Yeah, that room was suggested by a couple people.
And we were checking out this room that was left over from when it was a military barracks,
where there's still even a military style steel door with the glass plate.
And we find out on our evidence review that while we're just doing the CMF sweep, we got an EVP.
Pretty old door, eh?
It is such a clean, crisp EVP.
Pretty old door, eh?
You can clearly hear it say, "Get out now."
We captured a few other EVPs in the house during this walkthrough on our voice recorder, and we hadn't even done an equipment setup yet. I'm going to set up some equipment here in the main room.
There's nobody in here.
I guess I'd call this the main room.
You did a full sweep.
Okay. We are being joined by the lovely Nicole.
We start setting up our equipment on the main floor of this mansion.
46% humidity in here, 60 degrees. We formed a little team, me and Nicole and Alex, and we went down into the basement first to investigate the area where Alex's friend said he felt a certain unease in.
It's like that room freaks me out.
Down in the basement?
Which we actually captured this EVP in earlier during the walkthrough. Which room was it, Alex?
Right back to the theater.
Going up the weird stairs of vertigo.
In the basement area, there were a series of dehumidifiers, like industrial dehumidifiers running on auxiliary power.
Just hit the power off button.
Yeah.
We shut all these dehumidifiers off first, so it was nice and quiet in the basement.
Scientific fact that the drier the air is, the more of a static charge can build up.
So when you run a dehumidifier, you're creating an environment that is static electrically primed for an entity to be able to manifest in. because it can use that energy in the air available to it and create a voice.
Yeah, we're going to be going into this room here. I decided to go investigate this room that we were in on the walkthrough, where we got this just complete feeling of despair and sadness.
This room did have a particular melancholy to it, and Tom, Alex, and I noted that on audio when we made our walkthrough of the place initially before Nicole got there.
Feel a lot of sadness.
There's a lot of like kind of sad and confused energy.
And when we reviewed that audio, once again we found another EVP.
Feel a lot of sadness.
There's a lot of like kind of sad and confused energy. Lots of it. Lots of it.
It was nothing that we heard on the spot, but we found it when we reviewed this voice recorder audio.
Kind of sad and confused energy. Lots of it.
I think it has the sort of character that I would expect to hear from an EVP in this room.
Is there anybody here that wants to communicate with us? So I proceeded to do my EVP session.
He didn't get any direct responses right into his microphone, but after some of these questions, you can hear...
You don't want to talk to me here. My friends are down in the basement.
These unexplained noises in other parts of the house.
Talk to me here. My friends are down in the basement. Both Marty and Nicole tag it
Tell us your name.
in the audio. You don't want to talk to me here.
I heard a noise from the back basement.
I did too.
So we know they're not making any of these noises.
So upstairs, Tom picks up the sound on his microphone.
Talk to me here. My friends are down in the basement.
Downstairs, we pick up the sound on our microphones. But on the main level in between us, the control microphone
You don't want to talk to me here. My friends are down in the basement.
does not hear this sound.
You don't want to talk to me here. My friends are down in the basement. I can't tell you how many times we've heard something. And it's not been recorded on our equipment.
I don't know how to explain this, but this microphone in between us does not hear anything. There's no trace of this sound in the control mic audio. And the control mic audio has a far side microphone that's very good at listening to sounds that aren't close to the mic. It's not normal.
I heard a noise over here now.
Our session continues in the basement
I'm standing up.
when all of a sudden there is this loud noise that happens right in front of us. This object manipulation or some sort of mechanical switch being thrown,
That noise, maybe?
or
I don't know what that was.
possibly one of the dehumidifiers being moved or shifted in some way.
I really want to know why whoever's here is that sad. So I proceeded to do my EVP session, and the Ovulus in phonetic mode spits out 3 syllables in a row.
It's hard to tell what the Ovulus is trying to say here because it's in phonetic mode. The computer voice on that is somewhat hard to understand sometimes. But the fact that we got 3 syllables strung together represents a change in the environment surrounding the device.
Are you trying to talk to us through the Ovulus?
Should we take a walk?
Upstairs?
Alright, I'm gonna leave you alone now. I take up my investigation down to the main room where the ovulus is, and I put it in dictionary mode.
Eventually everybody kind of cross paths. We go back upstairs.
I was just going through the one floor. Marty's team went up to the upper floors, and I moved up to the second floor turret room. And we continued our investigation.
Going up one more flight.
It's on here on the left, right?
And we go and investigate another room recommended to us by our guide Alex.
In here.
This is the. I can put Rex.
It's a joker and an ace of spades.
Can you reiterate the story about the two women?
Yeah, there were two women that lived in this room, and they had a child as well. And they decided that they were done at this house and that they would curse the room before they left.
It was over some dispute that happened at dinner, and two residents of Lothlorien allegedly put a curse on this building.
The story goes that they stuck pieces of paper or curses or something in the cracks in this room and cursed it before they left.
Was this your room?
Try to speak to us. Are you responsible for the fire?
I really tried to ask the sorts of questions that I felt would best solicit a response in this room,
Did you influence anyone to start this fire?
and did not get one. No EVPs to report. But around this time, the ovulus started to spit out some pretty relevant words.
We have the obelisk in the background.
I hear the ovulus going off downstairs.
The ovulus going off.
So I take up my investigation down to the main room.
The night is wearing on, and we're following our guide Alex out of the room and up the stairs that leads us to the burned wing area
After you.
on the fourth floor. And just as we're passing through this door, we capture this anomalous whisper. We're not supposed to whisper on these investigations, and if you do, you're supposed to tag it on the audio so the mistake is not made later. When I found this in the evidence review, I kind of dismissed it as being possible pareidolia, which is when the brain tries to find things that it can recognize in the matrix of sound and images. But then you see us passing through the second fire door, and again, through this passageway, we get this whisper that's buried in the noise contamination of us going through the door. It is above and beyond that, clearly a voice. And it's not me, and it's not Alex, and it's not Nicole.
It was also in our walkthrough where we got an EVP around the same area.
That was this whole wing.
It was actually two different voices, one against another. Here we have three instances in the same part of the building where we have these anomalous whispers or voices. And that was this whole lane that aren't tagged by any investigators that appeared on our camera audio and on our voice recorder.
Manor. That makes sense.
Shut the door.
We walk into this hallway and it's totally trashed. Everything's charred black. I mean, it was really bad.
That was me bumping the block.
Beach. This place is right next to the lake.
As I'm doing this EVP session,
Are the original residents of this house here with me?
Marty's team goes to the room where the fire had actually started.
So the fire started at about 3 in the morning.
Yep.
It sparked up and it was right on the balcony, right outside of the window here. What was the window? There's theories. Nobody really knows what happened. All they could point to was where it started. And there's a fire door that stopped it from getting past the wing here.
Please tell us the reason as to why this fire was started.
I think that might have been my digestive tract.
Okay. You know what happens to me all the time.
Despite giving Lothlorien ample time to respond to this question, we collected no EVPs in this room. Thank you very much. We're going to move on. When we shut down, we ended this investigation.
They come back down to the main room. I check the history of the ovulus.
Check this out.
Wow. You have to ask yourself what the chances are that we end up getting references to a man on the beach, this disaster. They are rebuilding Lothlorien, and pretty soon they're actually going to be moving residents back into this place. It leaves us with another set of pretty incredible circumstances to deal with.
It leads me to believe that something was clearly there. And trying to manipulate the ovulus.
They're there. We recorded them.
If you don't want to talk to me here. If you don't want to talk to me here. If you don't want to talk to me here. My friends are now in the basement.
We've got EVPs.
3 anomalous voices, all captured in the same area. A lot of these voices sound different from each other.
There's a lot of sad and confused energy, lots of it.
From different areas of the house.
These are the sorts of circumstances that start to pile up.
Bat noise, maybe?
I don't know what that was.
When you review an investigation to determine whether or not there is paranormal activity occurring at a location.
Lothlorien is an interesting place. It really should have picked up some residents from the people that have lived there.
There appears to be enough residual psychic energy, at least, to be able to produce these voices on our recording equipment. And I think that gives enough food for thought to consider that this place is active paranormally.
I want that logo.
There we go.
It's not allowed.